UFO Summit Lecturer warns of impending UFO/UFO revelation September 29, 2019. The planet's population awaits and pressures governments to tell the truth about UFOs. UFO Summit Lecturer warns of impending UFO/UFO revelation. Millions of people have personal experiences with these ships, and all of them, from the most varied countries, receive from their rulers only indifference and irony, with some exceptions. Of course, ufologists understand the reasons that frighten authorities and prevent them from disclosing what they already know about ufological reality, and it is not from today that we hear a lot of people say that the moment of final revelation is approaching, without it ever coming. Indeed, faced with this situation, some members of the world UFO community have come to the conclusion that the only way to achieve something effective in terms of information release is by raising awareness of the reality of the UFO phenomena. But this, of course, is only possible by spreading research and testimonials on a large scale, so that the subject becomes widely known and openly debated, and to dispel the untruths and distortions created by the cover-up policy. The more credible those who testify, the better. With that in mind, UFO magazine brings to Brazil in November at the UFO Summit, the largest UFO activist in the United States, Stephen Bassett. He is the creator and executive director of the Paradigm Research Group (PGR), coordinator of the Phenomena Political Action Committee (XPPAC), and also the creator of the Congress Series X conferences, held annually in Washington, United States. www.ufosummit.com.br. Few men are as close to power as Bassett and have such a chance to change the history of mankind forever in revealing the alien presence on Earth. As a political militant, lobbyist, commentator, lecturer, and one of the main proponents of ending the government embargo on UFO reality, few like Bassett have been doggedly fighting for the release of the truth about extraterrestrial action on the planet for many years. Bassett has been to Brazil twice, in 2012 and 2013, for the IV&V World Ufology Forums, organized by UFO magazine, and returns this year with Nick Pope, a British who stands out in the same way as Bassett in UFO activity in your country. Meet and participate in the UFO Summit. Read more here. Bassett made the decision to form the PRG in May 1996 while volunteering at the Program for Extraordinary Experience Research (PEER), founded by the great researcher John E. Mack. The group had the Cambridge University seal and was studying the abduction phenomena. At the time, I was leaving PEER and looking for something new to do. I decided that I would go back to Washington and involve the extraterrestrial phenomenon in some way in U.S. government policy. That's when I created the PRG and registered it as a lobbying entity in the country's House and Senate. Since then, Bassett has been helping various organizations and promoting different work initiatives to raise public awareness and convene hearings in the U.S. Congress to record testimony from witnesses, most of them former military and former government officials, about your contacts with ships and extraterrestrial beings. In 1995, he decided to put his 15-year business development consulting experience to the service of issues involving extraterrestrial life phenomena, and never stopped. Since then, he has given more than 1,000 interviews to radio and television programs, and has participated in numerous UFO documentaries targeting millions of people around the world. Imminent official revelation. In his public demonstrations, Bassett warns of the likelihood of an imminent official revelation of UFO reality and its implication. The lecturer also acts to promote lobbying in the political media. According to him, the objective is to form a structure of sufficient size to significantly influence government policies and actions that ultimately lead to the formal recognition of extraterrestrial presence. This is how, through the We the People government program, a tool that allows anyone or a group to petition the U.S. government, which will get a response as long as they reach a certain number of signatures. The PRG submitted a petition to the White House asking the president to officially recognize the extraterrestrial presence on planet Earth. PRG also hosted the opening public hearings event at the National Press Club in Washington. In it, no less than 40 researchers and witnesses testified for 30 hours in 5 days to 6 former U.S. Senate and House members. That week a large amount of evidence was presented to the committee and transmitted to the world in real time. From Brazil came UFO editor A.J. Givard and special advisor Wilson Pickler. See UFO issue 202. UFOs and nuclear missiles. Stephen Bassett compares politics to a game of chess and claims that secrets and lies are a common and toxic combination in U.S. politics. He participates in the congressional hearings to discuss the theme of UFO cover. According to him, Such hearings are very important within political movements, allowing decisions to be made and the government to recognize popular pressure on the issues debated at such events. One of the issues that concerns you most is the action of UFOs on our nuclear weapons. In the midst of the Cold War, on several occasions atomic missiles from Air Force bases were mysteriously disarmed, as military officials say they have witnessed the failures of well-guarded systems. According to Bassett, they did not blame the USSR but extraterrestrial forces. In the cited issue of the opening public hearings, one of the guests was USF Air Force Reserve Sergeant David Scott. He told everyone something appalling, that neither the United States nor the Soviets had the technology at that time to disarm each other's missiles, said the interviewee. Bassett also reports that two other officers had similar experiences and presented them at the hearings. Captain David Schindel, who claimed that in the 1960s aliens blocked missiles in North Dakota, and Captain Robert Salas, who stated that the missiles were shut down in a Montana base while in the U.S. nuclear missiles were deactivated by ETs. In the then USSR, in 1982, they were suspected of initiating procedures for the launching of Soviet-similar weapons, which made that country's troops ready. While in the United States nuclear projectiles were deactivated by extraterrestrials, in the then USSR, they were suspected of initiating procedures for the launch of similar Soviet weapons, which led U.S. troops to stand ready to counter the alien threat, declares Bassett, who knows things. He said U.S. airmen who claimed to have seen UFOs at the time were forced to sign oaths of secrecy, in which they were required to declare that they had never seen anything strange. All in all, it strengthens his need to combat the policy of secrecy, and he predicts what the future is in this area. UFO phenomenon and research will be taught in schools and universities. We will be in a completely different world in which we live today. Stephen Bassett. With the creation of the Paradigm Research Group PRG, Bassett wanted to produce something that would act in every way possible to end the embargo created by the United States government regarding the alien presence on our planet. The PGR represents researchers and political activists around the world in the field of extraterrestrial phenomena, both in research and in UFO actions. It also has a political action committee for that and the official registration of the lobbying movement within the executive and legislative branches of the U.S. government to obtain the UFO revelation. But Bassett also intends to foster the spread of UFO information around the country and around the world, to hold an exopolitical conference in Washington annually, the X Conference, and to create a worldwide web of information exchange, which I call the World Exopolitical Network. In the United States, these committees are made up of people with similar interests and are intended to raise funds and spend them to elect or defeat candidates for political office. To give you an idea, a committee can donate up to $150,000 to a candidate in an election. It is a type of campaign money. Now imagine such a committee for ufology. Only in this case, would not be supported candidates for public office, but scientific projects aimed at UFO research. For Bassett, extraterrestrial beings observe our nuclear experiments carefully and constantly, advocate the establishment of a political and scientific dialogue on UFOs, with the aim of facilitating the engagement of members of the government and the academic community, giving proactive and unrestricted support to the UFO community when it wants to bring witnesses to congressional public hearings to give their testimonials. Another point concerns the commitment of the scientific community to strengthen international ties to ensure that all UFO evidence is treated equally, increasing the ability to obtain media coverage and creating a foundation to study the impacts of openness when it occurs widely. Stephen Bassett explains that many leaks have already been made public by traditional media. All we have to do is know what we are looking for to find it. For many years, he has pressured government agencies to disclose information about the extraterrestrial presence on Earth. See Stephen Bassett's interview with George Norrie here. The UN and the UFO issue. The last time the United Nations got involved with the issue in the 1970s was at the initiative of Grenada, a small Caribbean country. He was asked to set up a body within the United Nations to scientifically investigate the UFO phenomena. A decision in favor of this was approved at the 87th plenary meeting of the General Assembly, number 33/426, on December 18, 1978. At the time, the Assembly set up a committee to address the issue, but it never got off the ground. Bassett believes it is time for us to get closer to the United Nations. The PRG has created a foundation to raise money to finally start this commission. It hopes that the world press will pay attention to the initiative and put pressure on the United States Congress, urging it to act. In 2013, at the World Ufology Forum IIUFOZ, held by UFO magazine in Foz do Iguá, Bassett signed, together with other speakers, a letter addressed to the Brazilian Ministry of Foreign Affairs asking the country to take the lead in UFO issues at the UN. It was sensational. Never before has a group of researchers, in this case the Brazilian Ufological Commission CBU, had this boldness. It may seem little to many, but it means a lot to many more. Get to know the Foz do Iguá Charter in issue 208 EUFOZ in Brazil, with Stephen Bassett at the center of the conference table. Here is real evidence that we are visited by extraterrestrial beings, and they are overwhelming. There is evidence that shows the presence of ETs in the past and present of the planet. There is also evidence that leaves no doubt about the contact between our species and extraterrestrial civilizations. And I say this based on millions of accounts accumulated in the archives of ufologists around the world. UFO Summit Lecturer warns of impending UFO/UFO revelation. Stephen Bassett at a conference in Brazil. His evidence is in the millions of files on the subject scattered around the globe. What physical evidence would be better than a person who was abducted, examined aboard a flying saucer and then implanted with an extraterrestrial chip? Want more proof than the report of UFO sightings by civilian and military pilots with thousands of flight hours? But if you want a piece of a UFO or an alien finger, just ask the US government authorities. They have, and they know we know that, as the end of the cover will show. Ace Bassett. Following the Pentagon's latest revelations of UFO video footage recorded by US Navy fighter pilots, their testimony to the US Congress, and their recent official confirmation that the material leaked to the public was really unidentifiable flying objects, Bassett promises bring much more to the UFO Summit than is yet to be revealed. Meet and participate in the UFO Summit, the largest ufology event in Brazil, which occurs at the most intense moment in the world ufology, the imminent UFO opening.